Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's March 9th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this will wrap it up for the week. No chart lesson on Fridays, so we'll be back again to do it Monday. And really, we just had a range day today. We had a couple of tight ranges going on a couple of times. We finally dropped lower, and we did drop below the overnight lows here, but we bounced pretty quickly and then went higher. And not a lot of trades today. There were a few that were pretty good, but just not a lot of them today. So the best move was this sell off here, and then the reversal. If you caught this before you got in the 2 o'clock hour, you would have had some runners that you could have ridden all the way to the close, basically. So if you wanted, but let's back out. We'll talk about the trades. It won't take long today because there's just not much going on here. But this was really tough right here in the beginning. You got a little trend line that's working up. Everything's within the upper and lower uh, overnight highs and lows is what I'm trying to say there. And then we just start going sideways here. And, you know, if you got long, you got burned. If you got short, you got burned. Really, the only entry here was when it broke out of the below the lows. We actually traded up into this, so you're probably going to get a failure out the low that'll eventually take off, and that's what happened here. There's a reversal pattern here. So this was actually your entry would be one tick above this bar, and that is a second entry. This is a double top, so you can treat that like a new top, a new high. And then so first entry, pull back second entry, and it was tempting to want to enter here. If you had enough room to get out before here, then you might have considered it, which you really don't. But when it fell below here and you could get in right at the lows, you got enough room now, and so it's worth taking. You got a reversal look pattern here. We push back up. You get a first entry, pull back second entry. It fails. So you might have gone long there. I'm not crazy about it because it's right into that high. And you might have even tried to get short here. But notice how you're making a lower high here than this double top. So that might lend you to want to get in there. Only thing is you got this trend line working up, and I don't know if I'd want to take that or not. Just like coming down here, that's another thing coming down here. You got this trend line, so that might keep you from wanting to go long. You finally get a close and a new low, and you don't get a close outside this one up here, and then a new high, and then it reverses. But it looks like we've got another channel working higher here, but it never really. This would have been the confirmation, and it ends up failing. So that's not a good sign. If we'd got a setup here, you might have wanted to go long. But let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. I've still got this trade. But yeah, if you got short here, when this failed, you know, I don't know if I would reverse here right into those highs or not. Um, I think you're just better off just to sit tight if you're not already long here and do nothing. And you probably would have scalped out, but you may not have gotten stopped out of this one. So you might have been able to just ride your runner on up here. I don't know if I would have exited here. Might not have been a bad idea because you don't know that it's going higher. But you might consider this one. At this point, this looked like, let me show you this. If you draw this over here and draw this across, this turns out to be a midline, but there's a trend line right there too, and that's another reason to be concerned about going long right in here. So, but notice how we're on the other side. It comes back and tests it and then goes higher. So it's like a breakout pullback long. And that might have even tempted you to want to go short here, but I'm not. I'd just be really leery about going short with all this sideways action. When this looks more like a range day at this point than anything. I mean, if you move this all the way to the right side, you can see how that looks right there. It's just congestion, and then you get your failed break lower, so you go along there, and you know, we went lower here and then turned and went out the upside. Normally, I would say you probably want to go long there, but you're right into that double top, and so I'm not going to go long there. And again, same thing here, so it makes it a little. I'm really leery about going long into that. You do have a trap here, But I'd much rather see it pull back here and go higher, but then you're going high right into the overnight high, or going long right into the overnight high. So I don't like that either. And notice what happens. You get a two-legged pullback and you get a nice entry here. So you get the same entry all over again. But notice the new high, pullback first entry, pullback second entry. That's a second entry long. It's also a breakout pullback long. It's a double test of the highs right across here. If you put your line right across there, you can kind of see that double test. Tested it once, tested it twice. But that's a second entry long. And we're looking for prices to try to make a new high on this little micro channel here. And we get that, then we reverse. Again, there's a failed second entry long here. But look how we're just going sideways. You got at least 4 bars there stacked up side by side. One of them's a doji. You could almost argue for that one to be doji-like. And so we did trade down into this one, so we may succeed going lower. But this just turns out to be 2 legs down. And you don't really get a setup here. Again, you're just going sideways. Those bars either stacked up side by side. You do get a reversal here, but then you're going long right into that double top. You do have a trend channel here, but it's real high on that channel, so you're going long right into the high of that trend channel line as well. You actually get an overshoot here, and it reverses. And you could argue for this to be a double test here, but this doesn't. This closes 2 ticks off its high. There are 2 legs down, and it is a double test, so you know, you might consider going long there, because you would think we're going to try to make a new high anyway, because you got this channel working up and a break. So there's some reasons to still be thinking long right here. If you've got enough room to get out before you get to this basically triple top across here, double top, triple top, because you tried to correct right there, you might take it. But as you can see on my chart, there's not enough room, so I didn't mark it. Then you get a failed, notice how we traded down into this, and you get a failed break, and you get a chance with plenty of room to get out. So I like that one. The only thing here, I'd say you're better off to wait on a lower high, and that comes here. This one's close to whether you got enough room or not. I'd let it break lower and then drop a limit order far enough back so I could get out, and that one would have worked. And then you get a double test of this area right here again, and a chance to consider going long, and you get just enough to get out of that one, and it turns down again. But notice how it makes a lower high, and this one did also confirm the trend line. And we come back and we make another lower high. Anytime you do a high, notice this high, then this one's lower, then this one's lower. That's a failed second entry long. So I like going short right there. And again, you want to be cognizant of these lows right across here, but that's your signal right there. Really, you got that trend line working down. Notice how we tested it once, tested it twice, and then off we go. So I like going short right there, and that turns out to be the trade of the day. And if you didn't, and this one, in case you didn't have room here, you were a little leery of that one, it comes back and tries to go higher again, and it actually goes out the upper side, then turns and goes out the lower, and that's pretty bearish. So you get another chance. The only reason this one's not red is because you don't have a lot of room here. And even though you got that trend line, you really don't have it confirmed until down here. And then now you basically got 2 legs down, and you get a failed second entry long. And so I like going short there. And at this point, you should have this channel in here. You can see that 2-tiered channel, and you would think you're headed to here. So this got a little confusing right here as well. We bounced early, and you can see that. But notice we did kind of overshoot it here, and we undershot it about that same amount right here, about 2 or 3 ticks. And but still, you would expect prices to reach this low, and it didn't. But notice how it pushes up, pull back. And then you get a second entry right here. Now, somebody asked me about this trade. They had the micro channel on here, the break and a new high. But this is a good example of why a lot of times you want to wait on that lower high. Uh, Going short here, this person went short right here. But I think they had a little better signal bar than mine, but that's a doji. You can't go short right there. You might have considered going short below this one if it broke below and then putting your stop up here, but notice it doesn't break below that one. And that confirms your trend line off those first two swings. So you definitely want to, that's a trap, and that looks like a reversal pattern, so you want to go long right there. The fact that it pushes right through and pulls back, and that's also pushing through and pulling back and testing that midline. So definitely don't want to be going short right there. Um, you do have a break of this and no new low yet, so you might have been expecting it to try to go low, to go short again, but I would have expected a lower high here, like something like this, and break below before it goes lower when it pushes through. But in the end, this is just a range day, and when you draw your, I don't have it on here, but when you draw your support across there, you can see that support right there. And so this is a failed break lower. So we're headed back, and notice that's why it turned down right there, because it's touching. That's why it helps to put these lines on there. If you've got that line right there and you know that's been a strong low, that's your overnight low, which is very important, and then it touches it again, that explains why it slowed down there and didn't just push on through most likely. And so this is just a short trap is what this is. And another trader had asked me about this, and he actually went short. He asked, how do you avoid that? Well, the main thing is draw this trend line and follow your trend line rules. But sometimes all you get's a micro, but the way this thing, look how strongly that pushes up. And the only reason you got some hesitation here really is because there's a previous high right there, and that's because this was a breakout pullback short right here too. And so it's finding a little resistance, but it pushes through quickly. So the better thing to do is, instead of going short here, just sit tight. And when you get that trap, you probably want to go long, figuring we're headed back to the other side. That's exactly where it goes. You can see what we're finding resistance right there now. It pushed through there a little bit in the over. This is the cutoff, the 315. So this is into the overnight. But in the end, it's just a range day, and you got to be really careful on these range days. Um, and you know, even though that's the lower side of the range, it looks more like a midline of the overnight and overnight highs and lows, and that's where you get more failures than anything. So you can see that that's pretty much your midline right there. And so that's the ones you got to be careful of. This, you really want to be trying to get long down here or a failed break down here, or getting short up here, and you don't get a lot of that today. So yeah, not much else we can say about today. It was really kind of a slow. This is rollover time, so that's another question. People ask me if I rolled over today. No, I traded this chart. Here's the June contract, and you can see there's just not any volume in it yet. I mean, this was the open, this was the close. There's nothing happening there. You still basically get the same pattern. You just don't have any volume. So it'll probably switch over tomorrow, but it may be Monday before we want to switch. Just open both your charts and just keep looking at them. Whichever one has the most volume, that's the one you want to trade until. So usually it's a day or two after rollover day. So this is our March contract. Again, you can see quite a bit more volume here. But I wouldn't expect a big trend day on a rollover type day, because people are squaring up and they're exiting one contract and entering in another one. The longer term traders, the funds, and so forth. So, but yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. Not much else we can talk about today. This is just a range day. We did have a pretty nice trend down. We had a little bit of a trend up, a little bit of a trend down, and then another trend back up again. So, you know, once it starts trending like this, play your trend rules. you still got to respect the overnight highs and lows, and you know it's still right here is where you really know it's rangy. It's swinging back and forth above and below the EMA, and that's a sure trading range. And this is a fairly tight one, so you need a really good entry near the lows or near the highs to get in. Um, even this short is questionable, but but once we bounced here again this time, if we hadn't made that lower high there, if we'd have come back to the highs up here, and you couldn't enter till this low, I would have said skip this trade. But because it's your trend line working down, and really you could have had it from early this morning if you just cloned that line or copied it and drag it to the high an equal distance. You know, you see that it's the same trend line. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it Monday. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.